So let's take a look at some of the frames here from half butterfly guard. So let's first things first. We can see that the bottom hook is going to be right underneath, just like your regular traditional half guard. Now, one thing that we would probably see this more is this being very flexed. So we kind of want the toes to be on the floor and trapping this leg. But in the heat of the fight here, we can see that, I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter as long as we have a hook around the thigh. Second, what we want to look at is this frame right here. Notice how Owen has this frame on the outside. And I want to highlight later the importance of the half butterfly hook and why this is so important, especially if they're trying to pass and they're flattening you out, the importance of having this remain on the outside. We'll see later that the preferred method of passing is usually to stuff this top half butterfly hook. So let's play a little bit. We're going to see here that, okay, so this is the worst possible, one of the worst possible scenarios you can be in half butterfly guard when you're flattened out. So let's take, we have the bottom hook in, which is good. We have the outside hook here, good. We have our underhook here already exposed, and we'll go over all of this right now. Now, first thing we want to pay attention to is the use of the outside butterfly hook. Notice how Owen is driving his knee almost right into Sanji, right? So you're going to pay attention, you're going to take a look that Sanji can't really drive and cement that passing pressure, that power, without really addressing this top leg. And this top leg is going to be extremely important. So because this is driving into, it's almost like another frame that Sanji has to deal with. Now let's take a look, and we're gonna see that as we progress, Sanji thinks he's good, but you can see Owen like creep up this arm right here. He's getting inside position. He's trying to get inside position, and notice how you can even see the torsion on Sanji's body here. This hook here is controlling this leg, and you can see it's like just the pressure is not there. Even though Sanji looks like he's in a more dominant position, it's just not there. So, okay, let's address that. So let's look at what he does. You can kind of see that in slow motion that he almost sprawls and then he kicks this leg out right away. See that? So he does kind of like a hip switch sprawl. Now, this is where guard retention is extremely important. Notice the position of Owen's head. Can you even see Owen's head? You cannot. This is because Owen's head is pretty much underneath Sanji's chest. So Sanji's actually really overextended. He's over Owen. So Owen has a lot of room to play with here, believe it or not. So look at that. So you can kind of see now, this is traditional guard retention, framed on the hip, throw the left leg over for the half guard hook, and then he gets his knee in between here, and we're back into half butterfly. So take a look. Now, a couple things I want to point out to you in this transition. So pay attention to what Owen does with his right arm and what he does with his left arm. Notice how that squeezed right in for that frame underneath Sanji's chin. And then pay attention to what he does with this. He's going to use his right arm and frame underneath Sanji's armpit. And what does that do? Look at where Owen's head position is at. Owen, when we successfully frame across the chin and we frame on the shoulder, we have such immense power and pressure to push our opponent over our head and overextend the body. And with this rate, we can tuck our head underneath the body altogether. So we can see Owen's disappearing underneath Sanji's body, and you can even see this pressure here. It's not a good feeling. People usually, when they were passing in this position, it feels good and it feels like it's correct to collapse our opponent's top frame here with our chin and pressing it down on the wrist. It almost feels like if you have tendonitis in your triceps or your elbows or whatnot, it's pretty painful. Now, on the top player side, when we're doing that to our opponent, we feel like we're doing a good job. However, in a position like this, where Owen's really tricky in the sense where he is actually not absorbing that pressure in his elbow. He's deflecting and he's pressing upwards. So he's using his forearm to drive the opponent this way. He's not fighting the pressure to go upwards. He's fighting the pressure to go backwards. So let's hear. Let's watch this again. So pay attention here. You're going to notice that this pressure, his frame is going to go this way. See, you see that? You see how he pushes his elbow up this way? So you see how Sanji, his chin is now like over the head here? And you can see Owen eventually move his head down. See that? So when you use your frame with the top arm in half butterfly guard, remember that. Not only is your frame supposed to frame against, not only is your arm, your top arm supposed to frame across the shoulder from the left all the way to the right and underneath the chin, but your frame and your elbow and your pressure can also go upwards. You can almost tilt and drive your opponent upwards with your pressure here with the frame, the top arm, okay? So there we go. You can see that right there. See that? Pay attention. You see that? Now look, Sanji thinks he's in a good position. He thinks he's doing good. In theory, it is a really good position. But if you look at what Owen's doing, he's driving his... He's driving this forearm up. He's driving this forearm up. You can even see the pressure on it. There we go. Good. Now he's fighting the grips. Notice how the leg positioning here is blocking it the entire time. And look right here. Perfect example. This frame is driving Sanji over his head. Look at that frame. Let's pay attention again. This frame here. Look at that frame. Driving over his head. So even when Sanji attempts to pass, he's overcommitted. And it allows Owen to kind of slip out underneath. Butterfly half guard offers you the best of both worlds. It offers you the best of half guard and butterfly guard. It allows you to forward shift your opponents and get your opponents off you. It is great for opponents when they're in mid-range or near-range passing. What does it consist of? Both legs are on the inside, one with an elevator hook, one clamping down on the bottom of the leg. You have the freedom of two arms, and you get to move forward, and you get to forward shift. You get to monitor your opponent's inside arm. You get to monitor your opponent's head position with the cross shoulder frame. It's not ideal when your opponents don't want to engage. So let's take a look at now the overview of each limbs.
So let's talk about the positioning of each limb. My bottom hook should be flexed. My toes should be on the floor. It should really be capturing the bottom leg of my opponent. And I should always be heeling back. So what it should look like with the bottom leg is like this. I should be heeling back with my heel, and my toes should be on the floor. This way, it's a trap. It's trapping and locking my opponent's leg down. Now, the top leg can live with the hook inside the thigh, and my knee inside, like a high knee shield, or like a traditional half guard, or on the outside. It depends. If I know my opponent's going to try to smash my leg inside, I might play my knee on the outside a little bit. But the most important thing is to keep my inside hook. Now, what are my hands doing? My hands, my top hand is going to have a cross shoulder frame. So my elbow is going to be on this shoulder, my wrist is going to be on this shoulder. And my forearm should ideally be underneath his chin. And what this is going to do is it helps me frame and control his head. If he starts to pass this way, I can keep this pressure here with my elbow. If he starts to pass with his head this way, I can start to lift his head up with this frame. And you're going to find that it's going to be very, very helpful, especially if our opponent's trying to pass a lot from half butterfly. The inside hand is going to control the bicep or the wrist. And most importantly, with this control here, I'm always trying to, when I'm attacking, I'm always either trying to build up to a base and attack from here with the underhook, or I'm always trying to elevate with this leg. So this inside leg is going to serve as a frame and an attack. So it lets me forward shift my opponent, and it lets me bring my opponent up. Okay? Now, you're going to find that the sumagage is the lifting, the elevator hook is going to be your primary jab in this position. So when I'm here, I'm always constantly trying to balance. Now my opponent, his goal is to pass this. So he's going to want to either pass with the elbow inside here and flatten my hips out, or he's going to try to smash his leg and pass like a traditional half guard. Okay? Now, this leg has to be very sensitive in monitoring this whole situation. Now, when I feel my opponent is going to throw his body this way, I can extend and lift my leg up. If my opponent lifts this leg up, I can always go into other leg lock attacks as well. If we look at Owen Flanagan, his idea is usually to bait the head control. So if my opponent tries to get head control, he likes to go for more traditional Choi bar setup. A lot of the new school guys will always say, the old school guys, traditional guys will always say monitor this hand and do Kimura, Americana, hip bump, elevator hook, and whatnot. The new school will go more leg locks and go more Choi bar.
Let's go over Owen's version of the positionings for each of the half guard limbs.
My inside leg is, I'm going to keep my knee just to the outside of my partner's knee. So if my partner ever tries to like swallow my knee with his knee here, yeah, I'm going to just make sure that I can frame and get my knee back to the outside, okay, each time we start the drill, okay. My second foot, so I'm going to keep it behind my partner's lat here, okay, with my toes curling in against his lat and my knee able to push in and also kick away in that direction. Or I'm going to keep it on my partner's thigh like this, and I'm not going to tuck it to the inside from the start. If you tuck the foot to the inside at any point, for example, if someone's constantly trying to attack this leg and you want to keep it safe, then just make sure you're flaring your knee to the outside, okay, as if you're ever working from this position. But for the most part, trying to keep the leg to the outside because it's going to be much more difficult for your partner to smash your legs together, okay? If you keep your knee out here, they try and go for arm weave. Yeah, if they try and smash it, I can basically keep my knee framing a bit easier using my toes on the thigh, or especially if it's behind here and they try and smash it, okay, I can basically open my knee up a bit easier than if my knee is lower to the ground. It's easier for them to smash it, okay?
Now we're going to watch Brian Glick explain his version of the butterfly half guard, and we can see the differences in how they're using their legs.
Where our inside leg is trapping our partner's bottom leg, and then this outside leg is hooked inside with our shoelaces right by our partner's hamstring. Your knee can be in two positions. It can be in front of your partner's shoulder like this, or in some cases, it can be past your partner's shoulder. What's significant is, regardless of where your knee is, that your foot is on the inside, okay? And so the idea is that at our partner's lower body, we have our legs in this configuration. As we talked about before, the fact that our legs are in this position makes it so that our partner cannot easily attack our legs. If I have one leg inside, one leg outside, this leg is always susceptible to some manner of attack. It doesn't mean it's always going to happen. But whether Placido elects to sit back into the legs like this, or he elects to stay on top and turn and toe hold me, I always run the risk of having this exposed leg under attack. So if I'm working with someone and I know that they are good at attacking, or they're very aggressive, or they might just be a dangerous person, they may not be able to finish, but they want to go hard for legs, this is always a very good option to fold this leg to the inside position, okay? So that's one. Two, this inside position, as we mentioned earlier, allows us to lift our partner up. That's not something that you're able to do when your leg is hanging out on the outside. So when Placido is here, I can use this leg to lift, whether I choose to elevate him out to his left side or I choose to elevate him out to his right side. The fact that you can use this leg to lift is a very important feature of the butterfly half, and it's only possible when you're working on the inside position. What does it look like with our arms? We need to have our arms positioned inside our partner's arms, and this is going to be something that recurs over and over again as we work through butterfly half guard. If we allow our arms to drift to the outside, we better have a really good reason for doing this, okay? There will be a couple, but for now, our focus is on keeping our arms on the inside. Primarily, we're going to focus on using this arm here as a frame across our partner's collarbones. Our second hand is going to be here blocking our partner's bicep or down at their wrist for reasons that we'll soon discover. So you have the ability to control your partner's arm, upper body. You can control the distance between you. Even if he beats this knee, go ahead and clear the knee here, we still have the ability to maintain this distance. The importance of controlling our partner's arm on this side. We've also talked about the importance of our partner's head position. That if their head drifts too far across our center line and over that shoulder, that we run the risk of getting flattened. And when our shoulder goes down to the floor, it's going to be very difficult for us to be be active from here, to have mobility. We're really, if you look at this, it looks more like I'm being pinned to the floor. So we're always using this cross shoulder post here, this cross shoulder frame, to move our partner's head away from this center line. Okay, the further out it gets, the better it is for us.
My hand's here, so I'm just going to keep my left elbow in line with my hip and shoulder. Okay, if same thing, if I've tucked my foot in and my partner's going to crush me, okay, we're in this like chest to chest half guard, make sure that you keep the elbow tucked along that line. Or for example, if we're here and he's got the head and arm, okay, I need to make sure that I keep my bottom knee free, okay, and I keep my elbow in line with my shoulder and hip again, and I'm aiming to get my hand under this armpit. So if my partner tries to flatten me out completely, I'm able to duck my head under this grip. Okay, so go back a bit. So one more time, elbow in this position. So if your partner tries to take a tight waist, you can go underneath. Okay, or if he tries to take a head and arm, then I can go underneath the armpit on the opposite side. Okay. So bottom leg, make sure the knees out, top foot, ideally not hooking it in from the start. You can be behind the lat, stepping on the thigh, and my left elbow in line with my hip and knee. So if my partner tries to clear my knee for a second and then get past the knee, I have an elbow there as a frame to either go under my partner's left arm or to go under the opposite arm. Okay. All right.
If Placido manages to beat my knee and also beat this arm and start to control my head, you can see immediately what happens. Both shoulders get pinned to the floor. We run the risk of this hip being pinned to the floor, and then our ability to lift and off-balance our partner is greatly reduced. Because we still have inside position, it's not totally gone, but it is reduced.
So naturally, whatever works for us in the defensive position will also work for us in the offensive position. So everything we need to be careful about when we're defending half butterfly or we're attacking from half butterfly is also the same thing we're going to use when we're trying to pass half butterfly.
The moment that he puts in the butterfly hook, his lower body becomes very powerful. So even though maybe I'm putting pressure on him at the upper body, his lower body can lift me quite easily. So what I have to focus on from here is making it so that he doesn't have a lot of leverage and angle to start sweeping me to his right, okay, to my left. So I have to start walking my knee to the outside of his hip and putting his hips flat on the floor, okay? And notice that I use my two knees to kind of pinch his hips together here, okay? And I want to start closing my knee over here on his shin. So now when he goes to try to sweep me, even if he can lift my leg, I have pretty good balance here. Okay, I could even post my hand out for base on this side. I don't mind if my weight's on that side. I just don't want my weight to be too far this way that he can start lifting and then knocking me over. So again, if we just turn over here, you can see how I position my body on my leg on the left side, okay? So a lot of the differences are going to be on the way that we work on the lower body. Again, I have a good connection of my chest to chest on the upper body, but once he puts that butterfly hook, I have to focus on bringing my right knee to the outside of his hip here and putting him flat over here where my knee is on the outside of both his hips. Now, one thing that's important to know is on the left side, my left knee right over here, is I want to put more weight to my right, okay, to the side of his butterfly hook here, so that when he goes to lift me, he doesn't have that leverage, even if he gets my leg up, okay? But if I'm too far over this way and I focus too much on, he's going to start bringing his right knee in, and then maybe putting me back in open guard. So I have to focus on using my two knees on the outside of his hips. So my right knee controls his left hip. But this knee over here not only controls his hip, it prevents the second leg from coming over. Okay, so that's why half guard is such a strong passing position. We neutralize this bottom leg, so we can't lose control of this bottom leg. So once I'm in here, my knee pinches on this hip as well. So I control this hip with my left knee, and this hip with my right knee. Now when he goes to move around, he tries to elevate me, I'm in a strong position. Okay. Once I get there, now there's a couple of things that we can do, but the main ones that I like, it's going to depend on how he reacts. Okay. So let's say I get to this position here where I have his hips and his shoulders completely flat. So now I don't have much of a threat of being swept, but he keeps this position relatively, like he's not trying to elevate me too much. Okay, and this is also going to be dependent on how good of a job I do of closing his heel into his butt. Okay, closing this knee. If I just kind of keep this leg too relaxed, he's going to be able to elevate easily, potentially get his legs in. So I pinch it. Now when he tries to move, that feels trapped. I can't hold that forever, but it's going to be good for the time being. So now from here, if I can keep this leg still and bring my elbow in, and then start bringing my knee over. Now from here, maybe he's gonna trap me in a kind of a quarter guard, but I can still easily get this underhook back, open up his legs, and get to a good pass. If maybe he has this butterfly hook, okay, and he starts to elevate me here, now all I'm gonna do is when he starts to extend his leg, I keep the shoulder pressure, I keep myself based here. I want to make it so that he can't look to his right. That's the most important thing. If he can look to his right, he's going to be able to sweep me. So if I can prevent him from looking right, now when he goes to lift me, I just push, strap right over, and then we get to the pass. Okay, so most important thing is we control his hips and prevent his hips from sweeping us, okay, towards the side that we're trying to pass to. Okay, so we want to make it so that we keep his hips flat and our weight is off to the other side, and then we can start dealing with the half butterfly hook leg, and then get to the pass.
I'm swinging my hand inside and I'm closing the distance. He's still having frames, but he captures my leg like here. So he has right now the top hook, the top leg working as a hook inside my hips, and he has the bottom leg applying this pressure where he back heel to keep my leg stuck, and he extend the top leg having some traction against my hip, and then he can be creating distance and bring building space both knees in the front of my chest, or he can just start working sweeps from this position. When we face that situation and my opponent is controlling the leg that was inside half guard, so I feel most of the times, even if I have some good control against the upper body, it's going to be impossible to progress in a way where I can escape from his butterfly and just like deny that situation. So if he has this butterfly hook, the more pressure I put on the upper body, the lighter my hip becomes, and he can push me away, and I'm always going to lose my balance eventually. And he can build up for something and I have to force half guard again. So the upper body is not the right answer. The right answer is close the knees, pinching the legs around the butterfly hook and half guard. My opponent is already off balancing me side to side, like he's trying to create motion enough. So what I should do? Figure for my legs. Once I figure for my legs and I start leaning my hips against the mat, when Fernando tries to extend his butterfly hook, it's going to be really hard for him feel safe from this position. Of course, once I figure for my legs and I start drop my hips on the mats, so I don't have the same agility and mobility that I had before because my legs are stuck, but at the same time I can stop him to find his sweep, frame myself back, and then build up a better guard to play. Once we figure for the legs, we gotta work on his upper body and build up a crossface. So right now, my entire work is gonna be not fighting against his butterfly hook, because his knee is still pointing towards me. So it's going to be hard for me to drag his knee away. So what I should do, I have to cover everything and start moving myself towards that direction. What I do, I start to come up over my opponent's body and shifting, trying to bring this top knee against the mats like here. Position has to go away from my opponent's body. So I'm not trying to keep things tight in here. I'm trying to create distance from his body. Why? Because the more distance I create from his body, the more I'm forcing him to point his knees towards that direction. And if he's pointing his knees towards that direction, when he tries to extend his leg, he's not sweeping me at all, and that is what I want. I want to fight against his leg and then get on mount situations. My cross face doesn't have pressure at all in this situation, so Fernando is still breathing, he's still fine. But once I unlock my legs, when he tries bring his hip back in place, it's gonna be really, really difficult because I can sprawl over his top leg. So look at how my hips are playing in this position. So my body is angled, so I'm heavy. I'm not trying to play in here, because if he tries reset his hips, just slide your hip in, he's gonna get it because my posture was flat. So once I walk, I have to angle my body, because once I angle my body, I'm heavy. So if he tries to extend his leg, the more he extends, the more I can widen my legs and fight against his knee. Once I fight against his knee, stuck in his leg like here, I can walk up past his knee line, and then from here, it's super simple. I can go straight to the mount position.
Really hard, so if you want to just get much cheaper reactions out of people than just stomping people on the chest and waiting for them to come back to take an underhook, either on the arm or a scoop grip on the leg, is like a good option that basically saves you from having to actually sit up. If you're planning to sit up right and you just go for a sit up here, there's a chance you get body locked. Okay, so that's why whenever I'm sitting up, I'm always going to do it in ways that keep frames between me and him. So you can go for a shoulder post, but it's easy for them to clear the shoulder post and body lock. You can go with your knee in front, but then you need to extract your bottom leg to sit all the way up, and you disconnect your partner. So a nice way of doing it is a kick, and as they come back, I sit up with a butterfly hook and an underhook.
Just a quick interjection. If you like what you're watching right now, please feel free to subscribe and follow and like. It definitely helps the algorithm and definitely keeps me going here. But let's continue.
Sumigaeshi is one of the hallmarks of our approach to butterfly, and is one of the highest percentage sweeps in all of jiu-jitsu. So it's something that John has always said that we all need to be not just good, but great at doing. What we need to do in order to be able to get up from this position. Placido starts to drive forward here. We have our frames in place. This is number 2. We need to off balance our partner a little bit and move their head out to the side. We do this with a little bit of a lift with our leg, but mostly it's this drive that comes from a high elbow. Next, we're going to take our elbow onto the floor and we're going to bring it up to the line of our shoulder. When you go to get up, don't try to roll up onto your elbow here. It's too difficult. It's slow. And if you get caught in this position, your arm is pinned underneath you. It's much easier for you to take your elbow up to the line of your shoulder, then build from here. So we use this grip, the high elbow, to get our elbow up here. And now from here, we can prop ourselves in place. If Placido dominates this inside head position, then all of a sudden his grips around my waist become a lot stronger. He has the ability to use his head to drive my shoulder down to the floor, and we end up in a situation that we don't want to be. When you go to move your partners, when you go to take your underhook, you're going to raise your arm and place your head here as a barrier. That means that when we get to this position, our partner is looking to respond to the fact that we have this head position we're beginning to rise. They can do a number of things. One is they can reach out and they can take this arm off of the mat to look to go either as an underhook here and start to drive us flat, or sometimes they'll reach out and they'll get a grip on this wrist or this elbow, right, to try to pull it forward and flatten us back out into a position where now they can take their head over our shoulder. Over here, we're watching what's happening with this arm. Anytime we see it engaging with us, either as an underhook here, as control over our elbow, or control over our wrist, this is an opportunity for us to start to go to work. Head position, underhook. Our partner gets a grip. If he's holding the wrist, we're going to circle up over the top and we're just going to get our own grip on our partner's wrist here. Once we're in this position, we're going to punch our partner's wrist through so it aims towards their chest. Here. We're going to commit our shoulder to the mat. It's very important that you don't try to sweep your partner from being up on your elbow. You're going to have to commit your shoulder to the mat. Your hand is going to rise from being down at your partner's waist to up by your partner's shoulder. And this is going to direct them here. What we're looking to do is to get our partner's forehead to the floor. Once this happens and you have the hand blocked, you have a very good chance of finishing your sumigaeshi. Your bottom butterfly hook plants on the floor. So this foot leaves the hooking position and we go toes on the mat. We're going to guide our partner up and over using this butterfly hook. When you go to hook, don't just lift your partner straight up. Instead, you're going to lift up and then you're going to push your hips into your partner's hips here so that you can circle them up and over the top and land in the top position. Really want to do sumigashi, and this is a good place to do it from, you're going to need to get control of your partner's arm. How are we going to do that? Well, if we just go reaching for our partner's wrist here, we're going to find that the arm is a little bit far away. And when I go to pull his wrist, if he just puts his weight down through this hand here, it's going to be very hard to move. And as I'm working here to try to pull, his head goes over my head. Now from here, my head's kind of on the wrong side. I'm starting to go to work. As he brings his weight forward, I start to go backwards. And now this is not exactly where we want it to be. We're starting to get flattened and there's no more sumigashi. So in order to get our proactive situation engaged, we're going to have to create a drive into that arm to be able to, one, reach it, and two, prompt a response that unweights that hand. So once we're here, we're going to take our bottom foot out. If we feel like that's difficult, we'll give a little pull forward to bring our partner's hips off of their leg here. Then we'll take our foot down to the mat. Now, we're going to push with our butterfly hook into our partner, almost as if we're going to start to come back up into them. So I'm going to put my hand on the floor and drive forward. Now, this is not really, I'm not really trying to come up here. What we are trying to do is to prompt a reaction here where we can now get a grip. As our partner goes to drive this hand down to the floor, it's no longer as effective. We're pushing them back in this direction. So often what will happen is your partner will be driving you flat again, and it's in this moment as you go to drive that you can take their hand up off of the floor. Shoulder goes to the mat, foot goes to the floor, their forehead on the floor. Now from here, you're in a position where you can start to elevate and walk your partner over.
Right, cool, so we're here. We're just going to do like a grip fighting sequence where my partner put the thumb post on my shoulder, so I can't get to his legs and I can't get to the underhook. So I'm going to move away to make his grip looser. I'm going to slap his wrist down and underhook to get this like high up drag grip on his arm. So from here, a couple options, right? If they just start backing away, I'm going to either look to control the wrist, okay, or come back. If he just lifts his posture up but lifts his hand up, I'm going to go to the leg, okay? Otherwise, if he tucks his elbow in tight to defend that drag, like tension, I'm going to shoot my hand all the way through and get my chin on his shoulder and hold his shoulder. Okay, from here, my left hand is going to wiggle under his head. If his head's too low like this, I'm going to push his head down and get my chest over the top of it like a sort of 100% up. Okay, otherwise I bring my hand in front of his face, connect my grip, ideally a wrist to wrist grip, okay, and I can use my elbow to bring my knee in front of my face. Avoid doing this, okay? You also need to make sure that your right knee here is out, okay, so he's not like cross facing you, your knee is pulled in tight to your chest. Right, get my knee in front of his face, he's going to be holding my shin here, so it's hard right for me to get my leg through, so I'm going to push his head down to the floor as I scoot to the outside. Now if he holds onto my foot, I can just kind of Americana his arm by kicking. Okay, from here, you need to pull his arm away a little bit and look to control the wrist as soon as possible. You can draw a hand like between the hand and wrist, that's ideal. Then throw your left leg over. I want to keep my knee to the outside just in case he tries to jump over me or forward roll. Okay, but otherwise, to finish, I'm connecting two hands and I'm pushing the grip over my hip and then I'm slowly pinching my knee downwards to apply the pressure. Okay, if my partner decides to roll, okay, it's important that you keep this knee out to stop them from circling around this way. Now I can use my right leg, okay, to look to either club his head or go in front of his head this way so you isolate the shoulder. When you're finishing, you want to let go, keep tension on his arm like a rope, sit up on your elbow and push his elbow over your hip to get the tap. Alright, cool, last one.
Again, could you give us a few details on how to pass half butterfly knee shield / knee frame? It's in the DVD, bro.
I like to fold the knee. Let's say half butterfly. They've already got the hook in. I will try and either collapse the knee inwards or get a body lock off of it. And that'll generally be what I try to do from there. And then if they start attacking your legs, you can pummel your legs in and go to headquarters on the other side. But got to make sure that their hand is occupied on the inside side. If that makes sense. You know, if you pummel to the other side, go underhook and knee cut the other way.
Knee cut the wrong way. Knee
cut the other way. Yeah, you could also knee cut with your right leg over their butterfly hook as well. There's lots you can do, but generally you're trying to beat the butterfly hook knee shield. So if it's just a butterfly hook, it tends to be that you can get a body lock. When you go for a body lock, normally they bring the knee up or they put it in the way of your ribs, so you can try and like apply pressure to it and then collapse it inwards or outwards to get the side body lock.
So that bit of sprawl passing to like just weaken that.
Yeah.
Wait till they sit up a bit, then try body lock.
Yeah, you could exactly wait till they try and sit up and then you pass the knee across, or you can just try and like slap the knee out of the way and get your armpit over. You can go for like arm weave and then grab their head and try to like bring their knee to their head so it's easier to crush it down to the side. Many things, but basically you're trying to collapse that knee if someone half butterflies before they have grips on you. That's why always grip the other leg, or get some sort of head position or something before you go half butterfly.
And our partner laces their arm through our top knee. From here, we control our partner's wrist. We cannot allow our knees to get smashed. We take our foot to the outside, place it on our partner's hip. Our top hand switches from the wrist to our partner's bicep. We fold our partner's arm in towards us and extend our leg. As we extend, we strip our partner's grip and move from here directly into the clamp where we can begin to attack. From the half butterfly guard, our partner laces their arm through. We turn onto our side, hip up, and free our leg to place our foot on the outside. Our top hand comes through, gathers up our partner's bicep and tricep down close to the elbow. From here, we pull with our arms and extend with our legs to strip our partner's grip out. From this position, we slip our knee to the inside, join our heel and our knee, and now we're in a position to begin to work from the clamp. And our partner laces. Our partner takes the knee and cuts it through. We create a frame. Inside arm reaches between our hips and our partner's leg. We create a scooping grip from here. Now we plant our foot on the floor, elevate, and take our hips up off of the mat. From here, we travel with hips high, locking a figure 4, extending everything across our partner's hip, landing them here on the mat. Options include heel hook and gathering up our partner's leg for control and double trouble. Our foot travels and our shoelaces are resting on our partner's belly or chest. They lock their hands through and fold the foot over so that it becomes like a toe hold. In a situation where we are concerned about the Estima lock, our first line of response is simply to control our partner's wrist. When we hold the wrist and they go to bring the hand through, it's very difficult. From here, we can slip the knee through, begin to come forward and into our other attacks. Second line of defense is when our partner takes a grip and we feel that they're beginning to pull our foot up high. We're going to invert our hip, so as they draw everything through, we straighten our leg and take our foot to the outside where it's no longer vulnerable. From here, we can begin to play a variation of the half guard.
With my partner's wrist grip on this arm, right? Don't get me wrong, there's lots of things you can do, but especially in this sort of scenario, so for context, your partner might get an arm weave, you free your leg, they keep the arm weave. You can still weigh on their head and start to free your arm, okay? But when you weigh on your head, often your partner takes that right arm out and they start to, deal with the collar tie, for example. This is the sort of scenario where I'm going to go to a drag grip, okay? So once you get the drag grip, try and go wrist deep, right? If you feel more effective if you put your palm on it, because I feel like you can use your fingers to kind of turn them, but they'll be able to just swing that arm behind them and free the grip, yeah. If you go wrist grip, okay, as you're doing this move, if he's trying to swing his arm free, it's actually pretty difficult because you're clasping like over the top of it. So as he goes, to circle his arm free, you get a bit more control and like time to work basically. So controlling the wrist, my partner's posting on my wrist. Before I free this grip, right, I need to come up onto my elbow. So regardless which way he's holding it, okay, I still want to come up onto my elbow, keep my left elbow flared against my knee, and then circle my hand towards the thumb. So if he's holding the other way, I go and hold the other way. Then I just want to go straight in this gap towards my partner's wrist.
And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. I know you're going to love the other stuff I have. There's other masterclasses and other breakdowns on this channel. And please like, comment, subscribe. This is my bread and butter. And if there's any other videos or anything you want me to do a breakdown on or the next study, leave your comments below.